Hey folks, welcome back to episode 2 of my Fyre Festival 2 coverage. With less than 2 months to go until the festival is supposed to take place, they don't have a location. They are in huge trouble, and it looks like we're headed towards full-blown disaster again. When I did my first show about this 3 weeks ago, the big story at that point was after selling tickets for more than a year and not really selling any, I found something actually going all the way back to August 2023 saying, get your tickets for Fyre Festival 2 now. So after selling tickets for all of that time, not even selling 1,800 tickets, with less than 3 months to go until the festival is supposed to start, the local government on Isla Mujeres Island, everybody was making fun of me the way I said it, saying, it sounds like you're saying Islamic Kamala Harris. But anyway, the local government on Islamic Kamala Harris Island, with less than 3 months to go, came out and said, as far as we're concerned, this festival doesn't exist. Nobody has reached out or even attempted to get the necessary permits needed to do something like this. So as far as we're concerned, it's not happening. So then for a couple days, it was like, so what? There's just no location and nobody reached out. You're selling tickets for something for almost 2 years and no one thought, hey, should someone reach out to the local government and see if we should get permits? You think that's important? No? All right. And then maybe a week after that, could be less, I don't know exactly, but everything on the Fyre Festival 2 website that said Isla Mujeres Island was switched to Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Hey! And then Billy did a press conference from Playa del Carmen where he's sitting at a table, and I assume it was with a bunch of Fyre Festival 2 staff and local government officials. I don't know, the tourism guy from Playa del Carmen. And so he did a whole press conference, which they live streamed, that said, now it's in Playa del Carmen. We're partnering with this beach club, which is essentially a resort with no hotels. We're partnering with this beach club, and it's definitely happening. Fyre Festival 2 is definitely real. Well, a couple days after the big live-streamed press conference with the local government where Billy's saying, yeah, everything is great now, some government official put out an official statement saying, this is not happening in Playa del Carmen. We look out for the local people and the overall peace and harmony of Playa del Carmen. Nothing with this name is happening in Playa del Carmen. And then Billy had to come out with a frantic Instagram post saying anything that says it's not happening in Playa del Carmen is misinformation. And then Playa del Carmen doubled down and said, no, it's not happening here. And then Billy made another more frantic Instagram post saying it is happening, and I want to be fully transparent and post the timeline of how we've been working with the Playa del Carmen government. So it's this long post with dates like March 12th. We got Permit A, Music Festival. March 13th, we got Music Festival Permit B. And it's this long timeline with permits and the date they apparently got them. But then yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, TMZ reported a story where they apparently obtained text messages with somebody that works inside Fyre Festival 2, and that person that works in Fyre Festival 2 is saying that Playa del Carmen government totally screwed them, was working with them, and then all of a sudden came out and said that it's not happening there, but they have receipts and they're going to expose them, that they got totally screwed. But I'm thinking, I don't think it's going to be this big, look, we got the receipts, this big exposure, because it's fair for the Playa del Carmen government. We know from the first disaster, Fyre Festival 1 from 2017, that Billy is willing to say anything. He's a pathological liar. So what I'm picturing is they reached out to Playa del Carmen government tourism department and said, we'd like to do this event on your, in Playa del Carmen, and a lot of the world population probably doesn't know the story, didn't see the documentaries, maybe doesn't remember from 2017. So what I assume happened is they reached out and said, we want to do this event. It's going to be great. And the local government was like, all right, well, maybe we could, work on that, get it going. And then all of a sudden, it's all these world headlines. The big scam festival is now going to be in Playa del Carmen. And it's fair to say, oh, it's this guy. Oh, God. All right. Yeah, well, this isn't going to happen here. We don't want to risk having the bad publicity if it's a disaster. We don't want to risk our locals getting screwed over. Playa del Carmen tourism industry is humongous with or without this little 1,800 person festival, with which it's a big risk to take on. So it's totally fair, I think, if they worked with them for a week or two, like, all right, yeah, we could maybe do this. And then all of a sudden realizing, oh, this is what this is, and saying, you know what, we're out. And so at least according to Billy, at the recording of this, it's still in Playa del Carmen, but you have the text messages saying it's not, they screwed us, but we have the receipts and we're going to expose them. So it appears that with less than 2 months to go until the festival is supposed to start, they already had to push it back 1 month. There's no location. The only musical artist unofficially right now that's supposed to perform is Antonio Brown, which I don't dislike Antonio Brown, but his whole thing is he's brain damaged but making the best of it. So we have at the big music festival, no location, one brain-damaged ex-football player turned rapper, and still the main selling point on the Fyre Festival 2 website, the answer to the question of, Billy, what do I get for the money if I give it to you? It's still, with less than 2 months, embrace the unknown. I was thinking about it the other night. The absurdity of a convicted con man that got out of prison, cooked up the same exact con that put him in prison, where the selling point, if you give him your money, here you go, Billy, is embrace the unknown. And something clicked in my head and it sent me into hysterics. That has to be the most con man selling point I've ever heard. Embrace the unknown. It's actually a really versatile line. You could probably get some miles out of it in your own life. For example, I'm not in financial free fall. I'm embracing the unknown. I'm not putting off necessary life changes. I'm embracing the unknown. There was a big moment in the first Fyre Festival where they should have pulled the plug and said, you know what, we tried our hardest to make this happen. Nothing was going right, and so we're canceling it and giving everybody their money back. It feels like we're at that point with this one, and we'll see. I think that Billy thinks he can't take a loss where his big business idea, money-making idea after he gets out of prison, he thought this was going to be what legitimized him again as, just everything went wrong on the first one, but he pulled off the second one. He made a bunch of money. It brings him back in the win column. I don't know if his ego can take it, or just if he can take the reality of, I tanked again, and then this is probably his last shot as far as people willing to do big projects with him. There was probably the main question on that first video that I did about it was, how is he able with his parole even able to do it again? And the way I understand it is he made his partners 51% in charge, and so technically he's just, I think, the idea guy and the promotion guy and the creative guy. And it's actually the partners that aren't on probation and don't have limitations of what, being able to run a company and everything that has to do with Billy's promotion. And so that's the way he was able to do it. Billy said at the end or at the beginning of last week, they're going to announce the musical acts. This week, they didn't. I was waiting for that to do to do this episode, but it was a lie. They didn't release the acts. He said, though, that there's going to be reggae artists and a pop star and rappers, and he didn't say Antonio Brown, but the things he added in that Instagram post that aren't on the website are, he goes, do you want to go ATV riding through the jungle with a Super Bowl champion? And you can see a lot of what Billy thinks is cool is like hanging out with someone famous, like a Super Bowl champion. Well, there's a lot of people that have been on football teams that have won a Super Bowl. Is it really a big selling point for a normal adult that has the money to do something like this? You want to go ATVing through the jungle with a Super Bowl champion? I mean, I don't know. I would go ATVing through the jungle. I don't know if having a Super Bowl champion there was a big, huge selling point for me. Not that it's not anything, but it doesn't really make me go, what, a Super Bowl champion? Holy crap, that's awesome. And he goes, do you want to go diving with sharks with an ex-UFC champion or something like that? And again, all of Billy's projects, Magnesis, Fyre Festival 1, it was all to make young, like people in their 20s feel cool and like they were doing the coolest thing and hanging out at the coolest spots. That was his first Magnesis. Was he said he got to New York City and he wanted to know where to go and what to do to be cool. It had that metal card to plop down on the counter, like, wow, that's really cool. And so you could see Billy's insecurity is really, he wants to feel cool, and he feels like the way you do that is you hang around like rappers or an ex-UFC champion or an ex-Super Bowl champion. But to the normal person, especially that has the money to do this, and that they probably have to work all of the time, and they have this little vacation day. I don't know how big of a selling point. Hey, it's a Super Bowl champion. All right, well, hey, great. Shake their hand. Good job on winning the Super Bowl. All right, well, that's takes care of that for the weekend. How much money was that really worth? And it's still on the website that if you get the $25,000 ticket package, you get pit side seats to the fight pit and fight team access to at the fight pit. So you get to like talk to, so he has talked about that maybe like the UFC, whatever UFC fighter that he gets to go down there, maybe they'll do a demonstration. But if the way it's worded, fight team access, that sounds like he's going to try to have fights at the festival. And I'm thinking, getting the insurance and the permits and everything needed to do a music festival is already probably a nightmare. But to add fights, think you would probably need a totally different insurance package for that. You're going to need security or police, because all the time when you have fights, somebody gets mad and throws a punch after the bell, and then they start fighting, and then the teams start fighting. There's a whole brawl, and you have to have security and everything to break everybody up. You have to have doctors and paramedics. If someone breaks their nose, happens all the time. If someone breaks their leg, if someone gets knocked out and isn't waking up, you got to work with the local hospital saying, hey, we're having fights. And if someone gets hurt, be ready. We're bringing them straight to you. So I feel like the logistical nightmare of trying to have a fight pit. And again, imagine paying $25,000 for your ticket package, and the big selling point is, hey, you get access to the fight team. So you're at the festival. All right, this is kind of cool. We're on the beach. Should we go check out the fight pit? You go over. Yeah, our $25,000 ticket package gets us pit side and access to the fight pit. You watch a pit fight. All right, well, that was something. All right, let's go check it out. And then someone grabs your arm. Whoa, remember, you get access to the fight team. I don't know. All right, well, tell them what's up for me. I don't know. I don't have anything to say to the fight team. Why is that? I've never heard anybody say, like, I hope I get to talk to the coach of the fighter. That would be really awesome. And it feels like, I mean, there's so much bigger problems right now with there's no location and they haven't announced any musical acts and it doesn't seem like tickets are selling. So who knows if there's even act or even money to book acts. There's so much bigger problems right now. It almost seems crazy to talk about this, but it also feels to me like they don't know who is the audience for this one. For Fyre Festival 1, they definitely knew exactly, dialed in who the audience was, which is someone in their 20s that makes good money, that wants to feel really cool, like a celebrity with Pablo Escobar and models for a weekend. But this one, people in their 20s, when Fyre Festival 2 happened, were teenagers, so they probably never heard about it. I don't know if teenagers are interested in the type of documentaries that really made this whole story go viral. So now, Billy's in his 30s. The audience that he's going for, it's like, okay, with rappers and Antonio Brown and kind of the meme type stuff, that still sounds like he's trying to get people in their 20s. But then with like the fight pit and pit fights and stuff like that, that sounds like more like 34-year-old dudes. And so there's not a clear, it's like he's still trying to do like, come be a part of history. It's a meme. We're having Antonio Brown, that aspect of it. But then he's still charging like it's this luxurious experience with culture. So it's like, is this a meme festival that kind of the selling point is just come and be a part of the shit show, be a part of history? Fyre Festival 1 was such a moment that you'll always be able to say you're part of Fyre Festival 2. Well, I think tickets for that should be around like $500, but with tickets so expensive, you have to come through with making it worth it. And another thing Billy said, a big selling point is maybe a professional skateboarder will do a skateboard demo. Huh? And I even kind of like that type of stuff. There's a docuseries called Epically Later that follows ex-professional skateboarders that I think is really good. And so but to go for that to be like a big selling point for the festival, hey, you want to watch a skateboarding demo? They're going to show you how to do a kickflip. It's like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really feeling too satisfied with the ticket money that I spent. Not that a kickflip demonstration isn't cool, but this festival sucks. I got to be honest. I'm not happy that I came. And so now, where we're at, with less than 2 months to go and time ticking, it doesn't sound like they have a location. Will they have time to get a location and put everything together? And with the time they have, even if they get some location or a different one, all it's going to be is they're going to have to rent out a place or something and then try to quickly, hastily decorate it with Fyre Festival 2 stuff. And then it's like, well, I could have just gone the next weekend or the weekend before and booked the same trip on my own. The same hotel as the official Fyre Festival hotel. You could charter the same ATV tour through the desert. You could charter the same company that's going to take you snorkeling with the sharks or whatever Billy said. So we're going to follow it, but man, I really can't believe how bad it's going. When they had said, all right, Islam Harris is out of the picture, and he did that press conference in Playa del Carmen, it felt like, all right, well, the story, it seems like they're going to pull it off. Doesn't seem like it's going to be all that great of a festival, but it seems like it's going to happen. And then when Playa del Carmen came out and said, no, it's not happening here, it blew my mind, because now really we're at the spot where they're in huge trouble, and I don't know what they're going to do. It reminded me of like 10 years ago, my first job here in New York City was I was the GM of a comedy club, and the club started not to do well at all. It started to get into debt, and the owners wanted to sell it. Well, the owner, he told me, he was like, don't tell anybody it's not doing well. I can't take that loss on my business record or my next venture. No one's going to want to work with me. And I need it to seem like a big win, like the club was doing so great and we're selling it. We're going to make a bunch of money. It's not that it was totally, completely tanking and going into debt. It's just it was going so great. It's time to sell it, and I'm moving on to my next big, impressive project. And that's how I know I'm not cut out for the business world, because in my head, I was thinking, whoops, I already told a bunch of people we were just tanking, and you had to sell it because we were tanking. And so I don't really think like that, but that's how I feel like where Billy's at right now, is he's thinking, I cannot afford. I have to pay $26 million back for blowing it as bad as I did with Fyre Festival 1. I can't have this be a disaster and just collapse into nothingness. And so I think that's going to be why he doesn't say, all right, this whole thing is canceled. We're refunding everybody's tickets. It's over. I'm just going to promote other people's ideas because all my ideas are lame. And it's just to try to make what you're buying is to feel cool. But all of the things that Billy thinks make you feel cool. You want to hang out with a rapper? Huh? That's cool. Yeah, maybe that was cool when I was in my early 20s. But once people are in their 30s, they don't really care about that type of stuff. They want a different vacation than they did in their 20s. Man, what a story. All right, I'm cutting it off there. I love you all. Oh, yeah, I'm going all in on Patreon. Most Sundays I come down and do a Patreon Sunday show. So if you want access to that, sign up. I'll put it in the top comment. I love you all. Why? Stamina. Shamita.